Alright, what you see here is a new fan I got at my local Home Depot. This is a Hampton Bay Littleton ceiling fan in 42 inches. Now you might be wondering, how is it that I got a older Littleton from a Home Depot if they're not selling it anymore? Well, this was actually the one that was on my local Home Depot's display. And timing actually worked out perfectly because although there is the Littleton 2 right now being sold, they were going to reuse this still because the Littleton 1 isn't being discontinued at the moment. But I've been walking in a few times just to kind of see the reset and process, which, for those who don't know, that's basically when they rearrange the display and everything. So, yeah, so I actually happened to walk in as they were taking a few from down, and they were kind of close to the area where the Littleton was, and I already knew they were going to be moving it. So I figured I'd wait to see them take it down and get up close to it, and I did. And then I figured, you know what? Since it's an older version, even though they do sell the Littleton, this is the older version of it, and I figured it wanted her to ask one of the managers that was on duty if it'd be possible that I buy this fan off them. So I walked in a little bit later in the day after the guys that were working on the display left, just so I wasn't getting in their way. Fan was still on the bottom, waiting to be reinstalled for the next day or so, and happened to find a manager on duty and asked if I could buy it because it was a very sentimental fan to me, and also that since it was an older display of the current Littleton, and since it was kind of worn looking, that it would be in their interest to update the display one for a more accurate representation being the newer one. As this one has a larger motor housing, the detachable light kit from this storage cap, which isn't what the newest one has right now, so it is a bit misleading, making it look like that it could be installed before the light kit. And the biggest indicator that it had the older Hampton Bay logo on it, whereas the current one doesn't. So, and also I even showed him the day code that was on it from September of 1999. So, yeah. So after telling the story about how it's sentimental to me, I remember seeing it on display as a kid and all that. And that was the only remaining fan from the display since I was a kid. They let me have it. And when I say let me have it, I mean they let me have it completely for free. They did not make me pay for it. They let me walk out with it. Although they did walk me out to the front. That way it didn't look like I was just walking out with the merchandise from the store. But yeah, so since this was an older one, I guess it wasn't on a inventory list of a fan to be disposed, because all the newer ones basically are display version of the fans. They're not the actual fan. They're just display ones so they don't actually spin. Though there have been some instances where they have put up an actual fan on displays, as some people have filmed over the years by pulling the chains and such. This one I can confirm is actually the real deal. I actually plugged it in quickly on the wall outlet with the plug that you see there, and it does in fact work. It was actually wired up to not work. It had the hot wire, I think, yeah, the black wire, not connected to the light one, so it was just loose and such. So I reconnected that and the fan turned on. Now, with it being an older one, this was back when they actually did use real fans on the display. I want to say it was around 2010 onwards they probably started doing the display versions, where it's basically a motor shell, but it's not an actual motor inside, like the windings and all that, so it wouldn't actually spin. And I also told the manager that I wouldn't be returning this fan, and if it didn't work or not, I wouldn't care. It's just to have for sentimental reasons, and that was the main reason why I think they let me grab it. And I also told him how my grandmother had a fan similar to this when I was a kid, and I broke one of the blades off, and we were originally going to replace it with one of these, or then the Landmark actually, but then we went with the Clarkston. But how the funniest thing is that this one had a broken blade, at one point, just like the one that my grandmother had, the home trans hugger. And one of the blades is actually a replacement one, which is why it looks a little bit newer than the other three. So, yeah. I actually, honestly never thought I'd actually be able to get a hold of this fan, and out of all the Littletons that I've seen, this is probably the most special one, without a question, because this is the first one I ever saw as a kid, with it being on a display. It's been there since back when I got the Hampton Bay Carousel. I never noticed it was an older version until 2006, because what it is that for the longest time, the Hampton Bay logo was facing at an angle where I couldn't see it, and it wasn't until 2006 that I noticed it was a little bit different. Especially because in 2006 they introduced in the catalog they had an older picture of the Littleton. That was this exact version basically, the air-cooled Aero one with the logo on the switch housing in detachable way. Whereas for the longest time, the catalog pictures in the 2000s always showed the Power Max SMC type. So, no, but yeah, when I noticed that it had the older logo on it, back in 2006 they put it where it was, and back when I first filmed it in 2013, it was in that position since 2006, I want to say, for the longest time up until 2020 during the pandemic. I think or 2021 is when they rearranged the display, and a few times it's moved around a little bit. But, yeah. Now the blades were absolutely filthy on the top. I definitely gave them a good wipe down. And the white side of the blades obviously took some damage in terms of being moved around for so many times. And also evident of birds being in the store. There was some bird poop on it, which I'm honestly not surprised. If anything, I'm actually surprised there wasn't more on it. Here's the replacement blade. Even the blade stroke on it's different than the air-cooled one from all those years ago. Although it could also be that the blade on that one's more discolored, but I'm pretty sure it's just darker nowadays. Because I remember when I tested the air-cooled one in the test unit, or the test basement back then, that it was more of a lighter color like this one. This blade right here actually was originally face down like this, with the blue stroke side. When I first filmed it, it actually had two blue stroke and two white blades facing down. And then when they put a replacement blade for the broken one, for some reason they flipped this over to have the white side facing down. I don't know why, but they do. And it looks more dirty because of it, because that was originally the side I was facing up. This is the best I could do to get it cleaned up. But whenever I do test this fan, I'm actually going to flip that blade back to the blue stroke side, so that way it will be basically the same way that it was on display. So, yeah. Here's the Schoolhouse Globe. I'm pretty sure this is the original one that it came with. I don't ever remember seeing it without the glass, or getting broken and all that, so. Yeah, and that was a light bulb that was in it, which probably explains why it had that weird pattern of like lines going across it. And as you can see, it has some replacements. It's a replacement screw at some point. And then these two right here are from the SMC blade arm. And then there's another replacement one. But yeah, the fan does work. Even if it didn't work, if it was an actual decoy one, which I really doubt it would have been, because back then I remember seeing the Minuet 2 in satin brass running on a display back when I first picked up my Hampton Bay Carousel. I'm just trying to get a good angle of the tag. I know I showed it when it was taken down from the display. Yeah, it's from September of 1999. I'm not sure if that's if 1999-ish or 2000 was the year that my local Home Depot opened up, but I'm assuming it was some point around then. Oh, and something I actually found interesting with this one is that it has a SMC type mounting bracket, despite it being an air-cooled fan. It's actually reminiscent of the first Hampton carriage house that I got, the polished brass one. That's an air-cooled one, the one I got from Savers a while back. And it had SMC type mounting bracket. And this one I'm noticing that the switch housing didn't hang as well as the one that I got, the Littleton off of eBay a while back, the air-cooled one that I've tested. But yeah, I'm just leaving it on there right now just because I don't want the housing to scratch up or pull threads of the rug. But also just to show that, yeah, I have the piece that held it on display. And looking at it, it looks like this thing was probably getting ready to snap off and the fan will possibly end up falling out of place. I'm not too sure, but yeah. It was cool to see this fan up close. Oh yeah, it definitely looks like they've replaced some screws on it over the years, but yeah, it's the first one I ever saw. And I've always liked these fans. Many of you guys already know that, as evident with how many of them I've gotten over the years. Mostly feud because they look basically identical to the home trends hugger my grandmother had in her bedroom. But also I really liked 4-bladed huggers as a kid too. And this was one of the only few that they sold. And although there are more from being sold now, I am glad I can actually have this exact one in my possession. And it has been featured on the channel many times over the years throughout the various display videos I've done at that Home Depot. As for when they put up a new version of it, I'm not sure, but I also figured since the Littleton 2 has officially came out, I don't know how much longer this one would be sold or if they ever are going to discontinue it. So I figured if I'm ever going to get it, now would be the time to ask, since it was already taken off the display temporarily, instead of asking them while it's already on the display and having to have someone go up there and take it down and such. So yeah. So yeah, this fan didn't have any labels on it saying "do not sell," display item, nothing like that. So I feel that was another reason because back then they didn't have that be the case with these display fans. They were actually fans and such. So yeah, and that'll be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for more videos to come.